Well, joining us now is the Secretary of State for Scotland, Alister Jack, who this week took that historic step of intervening to stop the Scottish Parliament from introducing its controversial gender recognition reforms. And I have to say, we did a people's poll and we asked questions, do you agree or disagree? 16-year-olds are too young to change their gender. Majority there. 61% said yes, they were too young to be doing that. But I have to say they weren't quite as emphatic about the UK government intervening in a Scottish decision there. So tell us, Alister Jack, why did you use Section 35?
Well, morning, Esther. Quite simply, it exists as a democratic tool within the Scotland Act. That was passed in 1998. It was passed by the then Labour government. It was voted for by the SNP, and in there was an instrument called Section 35. And as you rightly point out, it's never been used before. But it was there for a purpose, and the purpose was when the Scottish Government passed legislation that had an adverse impact on other GB-wide legislation, and in this case, it's the 2010 Equalities Act. And for that reason, I looked at the legal opinion that was given to me, and I took the decision to use a Section 35 order.
Now, whilst we, and you've got, as you said, you've had legal advice, think it was legally correct, what some of the viewers are saying, and we've been talking about, was it politically naive, though, to intervene like this?
Well, I don't think so, because what the impacts are is around increasing the cohort who can go forward. We think the balance is right with the Gender Recognition Act we have at the moment, the 2004 Act. But what this did was it increased the cohort dramatically. And it's not about genuine trans people. They absolutely have our support. It is about the wrong uns, if you like. It's about the bad faith actors, those of a predatory nature, to reduce the bar to 3 months of self-ID with no third-party verification is a very low bar, and that will increase the number of people who can abuse the system. And then, of course, that takes you into what the impact is on. And the impact is on, as I put in my statement of reasons, it's around women's safe places, whether it's in women associations, sports clubs, changing rooms, refuges for victims of domestic abuse, single-sex schools. The list of things is endless, but it's about protecting those places. We think that the threshold has been lowered, and that obviously is an adverse impact on the Equality Act, which is a reserved act, I should say.
I just wonder, though, Alister, based on that, I mean, is it really, therefore, that the Scottish Parliament have exceeded their powers and have, in effect, overplayed their hand and stuck their nose into something that really is a UK-wide issue? Is it that you object to? Or actually is it, as most people, from what you've just said, might suspect, you just don't agree with the policy and you've just found a way to overturn it?
No, it's very unfortunate that this is about gender. I mean, whatever the issue was going to be, that I have to park to one side. And as I say, we respect the trans community. This is nothing to do with them. It's entirely to do with a modification of the Gender Recognition Act, which has an adverse impact on the Equality Act. That's what this is entirely about. It's a legal argument. In 2004, the Gender Recognition Act was passed by the UK Parliament, and it was supported with a legislative consent motion by the Scottish Parliament, because at the time they acknowledged it was very difficult to have two gender systems, recognition systems, certification systems within the United Kingdom, and it still remains difficult.
Alister, we had Neil Hanvey, the leader of the Alba Party in the House of Commons, on earlier, and he wasn't unsympathetic, actually, funnily enough, to the government's position. But he thought that there were other mechanisms that the government could have used in order to deal with it. Did you consider any other mechanisms, any other parts of the Scotland Act? He mentioned Section 33 instead of using Section 35. Did you consider those? And if so, why did you reject them? Because he would have been more sympathetic to you doing that.
Well, so quite simply, I have used Section 33 a few times already, only a few, two in fact. And Section 33 is a different instrument on this occasion. So that Section 33 is where we used it for the UNCRC legislation they brought forward, and the Supreme Court found 100% in our favour. But that's where they were putting the onus on Crown ministers and changing their responsibilities and actually having the Scottish Parliament having power over UK ministers. in that case. That Section 33 does something different. Section 35 is about adverse effects, and that's what we have here. It's not a Section 33, and the legal advice I have from Treasury Counsel made it very clear that this was not a Section 33 order, not applicable. It was a Section 35 if I was to take that decision. And
just finally, Alister, I mean, is this going to end up in court, or is the UK government going to come to some kind of deal with the Scottish government?
Well, the deal would be that I've written to the First Minister. I've said if you know what you need to do to make this legislation work is remove the adverse impacts you have on the 2010 Equality Act. That's the Reserved Act, and if she does that, then we can have a conversation on the way forward. She has said that this is going to end up in court. If that's the case, fine. That's I've got the legal advice. I'm very confident of the legal advice. I think it's a waste of taxpayers' money, but if she wants to go to court, then again, we will go to court. We've been to the Supreme Court 3 times so far with the Scottish Government. We've won very successfully, and it's the same legal team who are advising me this time, and I have every faith that their advice is correct.
Alister Jack, Secretary of State for Scotland, thank you so much indeed for joining us this morning. We appreciate it.